Some of you may know me, and some of you may not. My name is Rachael Terrill, and today I'm going to talk to you about cartoons. I'm sure many of you had a personal favorite that you watched every week, that you got up extra early just to see. I had several. Before I started school, I got up early every morning to watch Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. It had a catchy theme, a fun story, and I actually learned a few things from it, like about the 7 wonders of the world. Another favorite of mine was Scooby-Doo. I was the kid that recorded every episode and on tape and watched all of them constantly. Every kid watches cartoons at some point, but I never stopped. I got up last Saturday to watch cartoons, just like I did 10 years ago. But it didn't stop at just getting up on Saturdays. As I was watching them, I thought about what they really meant to me. That was when I realized cartoons had changed my life in more ways than I had first realized. When I was little, I never knew how long 5 minutes was. Not at first, anyway. I measured time in Scooby episodes. I knew how long each episode felt, and that was how I kept track of time. I eventually learned later that those were just 15 minutes, and part of a Scooby episode became 5 minutes. But I also learned a lot from them culturally. In the original Scooby-Doo show, they had guest stars all the time, like the Harlem Globetrotters, Mama Cass, and Dick Van Dyke. But cartoons have led me to beyond just getting up in the mornings. They've led me to a whole nother world, and that's the world of anime. When I first came across it, I didn't feel like it was any different than any other cartoon. I knew that it was originally written in Japanese, and I also knew it was geared towards a teenage group. The plots, characters, and jokes were aimed at me. I still love Carmen Sandiego just as much as the next person, and I enjoy everything I learned from it, but the plot element is a bit lacking, especially for someone who really enjoys the more cunning story, twists, and turns. It all started one day after school when I was in 5th grade. I came across a book at a Scholastic's warehouse sale. It was a manga, a Japanese comic book, called Plus Anima. I had read comics and watched cartoons for as long as I could remember, and it was pretty, so I picked it up. I read it, and soon I went to an anime club at a local library. There I watched my first real anime, and then I fell in love with it. Anime had everything I loved about cartoons in it: the suspended reality, the comedy, the short length, but it was geared towards me. The plots and characters were exciting. I got the next several books, and I was reading one at lunch when one of my friends asked me about it. So the next day, I brought her the first one. Before long, most of my friends had gotten into it just as much as I had. I kept reading and watching, and 2 years ago, I started going to anime conventions, which, for those of you that don't know, are similar to small Comic-Cons in Dallas. At these conventions, I got to not only dress as my favorite characters, but actually become that character, something called cosplay. There, I made a lot of new friends, talked to some of the voice actors, and I even got involved in a group that meets several times a year. It's because of anime and cartoons that I've met so many people that I might never have spoken to otherwise. There's a saying amongst those of us that watch and read a lot of it: anime, my anti-drug, because when you love and buy anime, how can you possibly afford anything else? It was said jokingly, and at the time, I didn't pay it any mind. I took it at face value, fully believing in it as soon as I thought of all the money I spent on posters, conventions, books, and videos. It wasn't until last year that I really started to think about it. I was sitting at a table at a convention with several of my good friends, and that was when they started discussing workout routines. It was a couple of minutes later when I realized they were talking about the best workout routines because they wanted to be in good shape for the next costume they wanted to do. Cosplay had actually driven them to become healthier. It also led them to something else. As I sat there talking, they were both wearing costumes they had designed and sewn by hand. It led them to getting creative and making something. So even though they were obsessed with anime, they were better off for it. From then on, I started looking for ways that anime and cartoons had made me a better person. Emotionally, it made me a stronger person because I've met so many new people through it. It also made me a stronger person because it's encouraged me to take up leadership roles, such as starting an anime club here at Oakridge. I've also learned a few things from it, as well as it making me want to learn more. Anime and manga come from different cultures and languages than our own. The long hours I wait for the next English translation is part of the reason I want to learn to speak as many languages as possible. For me, they were a bridge to those cultures and still are. Some of you may brush this off as just another speech or think that cartoons aren't anything special, but to me, they're a part of what shaped my childhood and my life. It's because of these cartoons that I know what I want my dream job to be, even if I have to make a little money first. I want to own a worldwide chain of shops that sells comic books, manga, figures, a place where like-minded people can sit and discuss the latest developments and stories or their lives. The next time you see a kid watching TV, or you find yourself turning on the television on a Saturday morning, stop and think about how cartoons have changed your life. Thank you.